And Ron, we appreciate you coming on a very difficult day. Greg Wolf, Matt Carruthers with you. Share with us your thoughts first about what you will remember most about Garrett.
Guys, it's a rough day for me. This was, forget about his riding ability. As you guys watch every day, you know the special ones. He was as good as anybody. I think he'll be remembered as one of the best ever. And off the racetrack, he was just a very kind, considerate person to everything and everybody. He appreciated the people on the backside, and he appreciated the owners and the horses. I tell people the guys that I've been lucky enough to represent, they have like a sixth sense. He's a guy that had a sixth sense. He could feel things with a horse that, just only the elite ones can. And, I started looking at the stakes and stuff that we were so fortunate to win. 76 stakes, and I think in 07 is still a record. The ride on Blame in the Classic to beat Sonata was really incredible. But the story behind that, I know you guys remember, was the fact that he had a broken shoulder. Yeah. That he broke 2 days before that, and was able to ride him and beat her like he did when he had doubts of even riding on the day, and even an hour and a half before the race had considered taking off because he couldn't raise his arm even to even make a whip, use the whip. Just really sad. I didn't really realize he was in such a horrible spot. But, I realized between my Chris Antley situation, even Eddie Gregson going way back, there's not a whole lot you can do unless they won't help. And obviously, he was good for a long time, but he was not good recently. So just sad, very sad.
Ron, talk about the sort of the evolution of your relationship with Garrett. I mean, you guys were together, obviously, constantly from what, 2006 to 2011? Am I right about that? About a 5-year period? He seems like kind of a private person. Talk about how the relationship grew between the two of you during that period you spent so much time together.
It's a great story. Jerry had retired. I want to say it was 6-7 weeks after that. And out of the clear blue sky, I got a call from Julio Canani. And I had heard that Garrett wasn't happy and was considering a change. I was still on the East Coast, and Julio said, here's somebody you need to talk to. And he just handed the phone to somebody of which I didn't even know who it was. And I said, well, who's this? And he said, this is Garrett Gomez. And I said, Julio tells me you're maybe making a change. And he said, oh, you come back here to work for me to California? I said, listen, I'd be on the next plane to come back if you want me to. And, I hadn't watched him. You guys, you watch every day. You watch the intricacies of a rider every day. I hadn't watched him like that because I was been on the East Coast for 6 years with Gary. And right away, it was magical. I mean, he did all the right things. He made all the right moves. And right away, we just caught fire. It was bizarre. He was leading around in the country 06, 07, 08, 09. And I'm not taking a thing away from Ramon Dominguez, but in 10, Ramon beat us, I believe, about 1.1 million or 1.2 million. He rode like 600 more horses than we did. Almost 600 more horses than we did. So in theory, he could have been leading rider 5 years in a row, 2 Eclipse awards. But at the end of the day, it's just so sad. He was a type of kid that people rooted for. You don't root for everybody, especially on the racetrack. He had a lot of people that loved him and a lot of fans. But, I say the same thing about him as I said about Chris Antley when he passed it. I really believe at the end of the day that they loved everybody just kind of didn't love themselves at the end of the day. And it's just, you know, it's something that's really hard to relate to, and I don't really understand, but I seem to imagine something.
Ron, you know, I apologize, you know, for if this question is a little too private going in. Let me know. When's the last time you spoke to him?
Well, I haven't spoken to him in a while because I texted him and reached out to him, and he never answered any texts until his mother passed away. I texted him and said, you know, Garrett, I'm so sorry that your mother's passed. And he texted back, thanks. He wouldn't answer the phone. You know, it's been a while, and I feel bad not getting a hold of him. But I know, you know, even with Jerry Bailey telling stories, you know, Jerry's still in recovery, and he still does meetings, and he still sponsors people. If people don't want help and don't reach out, there's nothing anybody can do. And I feel bad that I kind of did, but I'm sure there's others that do too. But, you know, he went somewhere that we couldn't reach him, and it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's just very sad.
Well, someone, obviously, I mean, you two had such incredible success together, and he actually broke some of Jerry Bailey's record while the two of you were together, but someone who also just had an incredibly generous spirit. In fact, his book, a lot of the proceeds went to help people battling drug addiction and overdose and things like that, right?
Yes, he was in the program very regularly. While I had him, they used to test him once a week. Winners Foundation, the gentleman Bob would come and test him once a week. He was fine. You know, but you know, I know from Jerry Bailey telling me to this day that he still goes for meetings, not as much anymore, but he goes. And I think when he stopped doing all that was probably where he took a bad turn. And then, you know, I'd kind of forgotten about it because after I'd left and come to the East Coast, when he broke his ankle and his heel so, you know, terribly, that was a big blow to him. Just not being comfortable anymore. I think that contributed to his retirement and all that, because he was obviously too young to retire from riding, and I mean, really, really too young to pass. It's just very sad.
Well, Ron, we appreciate you coming on a very difficult day and sharing some of your thoughts on someone that everyone in this sport was very lucky to have seen ride. We appreciate it.
Hang in there, Ron.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
So sad. And I can't even imagine how difficult that is, too. I mean, you think about someone who's at the top of the game, one of the best there is, and to leave what you do that gives you structure in your life, then to be away from that and not have that as part of your life anymore. It has to be very difficult. Yeah,
I mean, they basically lived together for 6 years. I mean, Ron Anderson represented, he talked about Jerry Bailey a lot, one of the all-time greats, Gary Stevens, briefly, one of the all-time greats, Chris McCarron, Garrett Gomez, now Joel Rosario, Alan Garcia, started with Fernando Toro out here. I think that was the first jockey that Ron was the agent for out here in Southern California back in the I think early 80s. Toro on the turf, and you heard him just say that. I mean, he represented all those Hall of Fame riders, from the greatest of all time, and Garrett Gomez was as good as any of them.
And Ron has sent out plenty of tweets in remembrance of Garrett, but saying two of the greatest rides he's ever seen: Blame, 2010, obviously in the Classic, and then Colonel John in the Travers, another race that you had mentioned as well before we came on air.
He beat Robbie Alvarado and Mambo in Seattle. I believe it was a Neil Howard horse, and he missed the break completely, did Colonel John. And the strength that he showed to recover, had the patience to get him back in position and then get down on the rail late and beat Mambo in Seattle by this much, and it looked like he lost the race by a nose as they hit the wire. Just an unbelievably great ride in the Midsummer's Derby, the Travers at the Spa.